Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Ignore that humming noise in the background. That's the air conditioner unit, and it's back to being muggy and nasty outside, but that makes it really nice to be in the shop here. And that's a good thing because, well, Squatch has been riding the struggle bus a little bit today. Follow me out here to the other portion of the shop, and I got to start on pressing track pins individually from links earlier today. So I went and got that big press frame that I had built around the 30-ton cylinder back when I was pressing bull gears onto final drive shafts, and it held up to, I think, a 20 or 25-ish ton press fit install with this ram. But then with the bull gears, we were pretty well supported and everything stayed nice and square. So I decided let's use this for pressing track pins. So I went down. I remember when I dialed it up to about 25 before, I used the same 5-inch H-beam that I made the side legs out of for the top. And I remember we had a little bit of growth there, a little bit of stretch once I got the pressure dialed up. Then I released it and it all came back down. All well and good. So the first thing I did was I doubled up the table. I made this new table this morning, which is a piggyback off of the original one. So this is 5-inch wide C-channel top and bottom. I added some 4-inch C-channel bracing on the inside of this upper one because I had a lot of it around. So I figured, okay, we beefed the table up well. We're not going to deflect a double table like that. And I also went and used that same T-channel that I made the upper brace for the main track press, and I piggybacked with weld that on top of the top H-beam so that we can take the stretch out of it there. So I get all tooled up with the 30-ton, and I push the first track pin out at 8 tons, and I'm thinking, oh man, this is just going to be a walk in the park. So I set the next one in there, this one, and that's when everything completely changed. So this was the first adapter I was using. Yeah, that came right with the 30-ton cylinder in the same puller kit. It attaches like that. It pressed that first pin out at 8 ton, and then I dialed it up to about 20 ton on that second one, and I heard some funny crackly noise. And well, I have a big piece of 1/2-inch plate steel that I put here when I'm standing over here for a scatter shield, so I couldn't see what was going on. But I look around after I took pressure off and I saw that. So our 30-ton rated pin pusher on the OTC ram, not up to the job. That's kind of what it did at 20. So I retooled, and this is 1.25 threaded piston on the inside, and I have this grade 8 1.25 all thread rod with the nuts. So I went and turned a piece of that rod down to be a new push adapter and backed it up with a nut. This is good grade 8. Turned down to 1 inch to fit just inside these pin bores. Set this in there again and cranked it up to about 22 tons, 24 tons. It moved a little bit. I think you can see back here just a hint of movement, and I heard a funny crackling noise again. So I took, we'll leave that in, not even gonna edit it out. So I took pressure off, and well, what do I find? I actually twisted this whole top H-beam, so we can sight with the square. And I checked the table is still nice and square to the frame. So when we set the square on the table, line it up to the cylinder, look at that gap on the top, and then we get tight on the bottom. That's how far I actually twisted this top H-beam. When you sight down, I think we can just barely see it. Right when we get to the other end of that weld, it kind of dives up, and this end kind of stays level to dives down. But yeah, you can see how in hindsight there's really nothing in this web right here to keep any kind of twist out of that, and I should have boxed it originally. I didn't, so now I get to do it again. What I'm gonna do, we're gonna finish taking the ram off and then take the tables out, and I made some lines here. I'm going to cut these legs down 1.5 inches shorter than what they are, because ever since I put this on, we're about 1 inch too high to get in that door or get through that opening without laying it down. And this thing's getting mighty heavy with that T-channel up top. So we're going to chop this whole piece off. Now that this piece of H-beam has been tweaked, it's of no use to me. That's going in the scrap pile. I'm going to zip the welds, save this T-channel, put it on the next one, and I think I'm going to cut another piece of this H-beam, and I'm going to box it with more of this 5-inch wide C-channel, because this is 5-inch H-beam. I can do a good boxing in here. We'll get some support there and there, keep the twist out of it, and we're going to do the same Bracket bolts, followed up with a weld as I did the first time. That seems to join all that really well. So that's just part of, well, prototyping this stuff out and trying to get it built so that it is capable of handling the pressures that I want to throw at it. Obviously, the press frame the way it was not adequate enough to hold up to the 30 tons. So that really stuck pin, that's an opportunity. It lets me build that thing so that it is capable enough to make the cylinder the weakest leg of the system, which is really how a press frame should be. I've got a lot of work to do, so better get going. 20-inch white swampers. It'll all be worth it someday. You'll see. Too much grease. Slides too easy. Okay everybody, here is the reworked press frame. We've got the same double table as before, the same legs and base as before, but I completely retooled this top piece. So here's the old one that I tweaked. It's got a twist in it, so we are discarding that. I got a chunk of the same reclaimed Bethlehem steel vintage H-beam 5-inch wide at the top, but I boxed it in on both sides with 5-inch C channel. Stitch welded it all the way down, top and bottom. And you can see I had to drill a 2-inch hole in each side so I could still get to the mounting hardware for that 30-ton cylinder. See this one over here too, so that provides good access for that. But we've got triple web now, should keep all of the twist right out of it. And Senior's been photobombing me today like crazy. Here he comes on the 4-8 end. He's hiding behind the tree right now. Yep, see, there he comes. He's gonna do some brush hogging, so we might have some background noise, you know, Senior action going on today. But so that should keep the twist out of the top. It should make it more rigid for not wanting to flex up. I didn't go with that T-channel piece at the top. And another thing I did, as long as I was at it, I added this cross brace that fastens beneath the nut that's on my pusher rod. I just stepped the nut so that it basically cradles the 1 3/4 hole that I bored in there. So it's all well attached to the cylinder, piston rod I should say, and I made these guides that go along each side. So this boxing should keep the twist out of it like that, as well as this guide should keep it from wanting to go forward or back. We're just trying to capture all the forces and make them go straight down. Clamp this expanded piece of mesh on here, this little frame. That's what we usually use for painting and sandblasting, but figured it could be a good scatter shield, and hand pump right here. So let's just test travel. Of course, no load on it, but we're just trying to see how well everything is going to move. We're making sure nothing's going to bind. That should get us through our effective stroke. We'll release. Yep, and luckily the return spring that is inside the cylinder is drifting the entire table up. You can see it move. Yeah, you can see it moving. We're rolling. So we know we don't have any binds or anything like that. Smooth operation. Everything is plumb square. Good directional force straight down. Let's try that stubborn pin again. Let's see where we are. 24 tons right now. Our equipment had already given up before this point last time. Just having a look at things. Okay, we're starting to hear some noises. I don't see anything moving yet. I think the pin moved. Yep, pin moved. What are we reading right now? We're reading about 25 ton. And we got full 30 ton on it right now. Man, that thing is tight. We have maxed out the cylinder. Okay, this is actually a different link with a different pin that I'm going to try. Because, well, we've maxed this one out at 30 tons. And you can see we've moved it probably, looking at the shiny part on the back, close to 1/8 of an inch. And it's funny that it just stopped moving again. So I don't know if we just happen to have a really stubborn link with this one. Like I said, that first link I drove with the other adapter pressed out at 8 ton. We've maxed the press out at 30 with this. Good news is the press is still holding in. I don't see anything that has been tweaked or bent or anything, and everything's moving and retracting well. So I'm going to try this one just to see if maybe this is an anomaly. I sure hope so, because my whole plan hinged around being able to press an individual pin or individual bushing with this 30-ton cylinder. So we'll just see what happens. Did it move? I can't tell if it moved. That was just a press. No, that's 30 tons again. That's all we've got for push. Oh, that wasn't part of the plan. All right, I've changed quite a few things, but let's give this a try. I think we're in business now. 20 tons. Now we're moving at 15. That was me dropping a wrench. 10, 8, and we're out. All right. That is much better. That's what I wanted to have happen this whole time. Okay, we are pressing pins. I had a whole lot of issues with this outside. Yeah, you can see we're back in this front part of the garage again. Long story short, I was on, I believe, uneven enough ground out there that when I would dial up the pressure on this, I'd get the first initial bang on those pins. I'd get that first bit of movement, but then I could max this out to 30 tons and nothing else would happen. And just through trial and error, I found that if I would max it out to 30 tons, release all the pressure, and then reapply pressure again, I'd get another bang with another bit of movement, and then it would refuse to move after that, and I'd max it to 30 tons. I worked one pin all the way out, cycling about 10 different cycles like that, moving it just that much at a time. So I knew I was creating a bind in this thing somewhere, and I believe it was because I was on uneven enough ground out there next to that that big track press, that when I got the tension and everything dialed up, I noticed this post would actually start to drift a little bit until I'd release pressure, and then would come back into square. So I don't know if possibly this press frame is just out of square enough in a certain area where if it's not on a completely solid floor like it is now, it's going to start fighting itself, and instead of that force going straight down, it starts wanting to kick off to the side and you create a bind. But I know for a fact I was getting a bind on my guides, because when this post would start to drift, I made these tight enough that I believe they just kind of grabbed onto each post and also inhibited any further progress. So it's a home-built deal. All right, it's more my Rube Goldberg equipment, but I know we have a press frame that's capable of withstanding this 30-ton cylinder. The press frame is no longer the weak link. The cylinder is what you want to be the weak link, and I've just pressed 4 pins of those just like that, rapid succession. It's working just fine. So I'm going to just include all of my troubles these last 2.5 days as an episode. We're going to put it on with the 5J1113 rebuild playlist, and it's just a part of the process, and it's a part of the process that rarely ever makes it onto the public feed. This is what keeps me busy most times on all the behind the scenes stuff that never really makes it through the editor. And there's been a lot of sequences like you just watched play out that have taken me 1, 2, 3 days, sometimes 4 or 5 days to work through and to figure out, to be able to build the equipment that I need to build the things that I want, if that makes any sense. That's been one kind of frustrating part of 5J1113, is I've spent so much time trying to equip myself and build most of this equipment from scratch to do all these jobs that I'm trying to do. Thankfully, we're just about to the end of it. This track press work has really consumed a lot of hours, almost 3 weeks into building that press. I worked on this 30-ton press frame for another 3 days, just about 3 days, 2.5. Little by little, we're getting on top of it, but I definitely, I just wanted to include all this in the episode listing because it's part of it, and there is a lesson to take away from it. I hope I never ever run out of challenges. I want to be trying to push that boulder up the mountain every day my whole life until I tip over. There's a certain amount of, I thrive on it to an extent. And the other thing I want you to take away from it is it's pretty hard to beat somebody that just refuses to stop. And that can apply to anybody with anything. You'll get knocked down, you'll get setbacks, but if you just refuse to quit and you just always think and always try to throw a new solution at the problem, eventually you will make it work. You'll find success every time. So valuable takeaways from it. Keeps me going and keeps me looking forward to tomorrow. So all right, everybody, this has probably been a long enough episode as it is, and no real forward progress, but I know now I'm finally equipped to do the pin and bushing turn on that press frame one at a time like I wanted to do. So next time, we'll get into the whole pin and bushing turn procedure. Thanks for watching, everyone. Keep on battling, and I hope to see you back again.